We are now on part 9, the cow catcher. This is the last part that I'll be making step by step with you. You also have to do the track on your own. So right now, if you look at this is a very complex part, right? But when you break it down to start with, it's a loft with a bunch of pieces added on. So this baseball home plate shape is the same on the top as the bottom. So we're going to make those two parts and then loft them together. So the first thing we'll do is we'll draw this line. Actually, the first thing we're going to do is just plot the points. So we need to make a new part. Rename it like always. Okay, and we'll start off with a sketch. Actually, I'm not going to start off with the line. Okay, it's fine. Okay. So that's a point. That's a point. That's a point. That's a point. And that's a point. And what we're going to do is just dimension those things. This is a fairly complex shape, so I am going to be using points to start with. And if you look at the drawing, that whole thing is 1.8. That distance is 0.25, and that's the same on both sides. The distance from the back to there is 1 inch. And this is like halfway through, so that's 0.9. And then we will simply connect the dots. So that's our first one. Then we're going to have another one. So that's the bottom one. Then we're going to have to do the top one. So we'll have to offset it by 0.75 because that's that height. And I know that there's a lot of dimensions here, but you just have to kind of look through it. So I press the plane button, and I'm going to click on this plane. And really, it depends on which plane your sketch is on, your original sketch is on. So 0.75. I'm going to finish that. Then we're going to put a sketch on that plane that you just created. And it's really difficult. Sometimes students misplace where they're at. So make sure you aren't doing that. And again, I'm going to do points. So the top one is 1.2 across. These ones are 0.25 again. That one's probably going to be the same because it was linked to it. That's great. This distance here is 0.6. And then the total height there is 0.75. Now the last thing, and if you don't do this part, it's going to mess it up. It's going to be twisted. So we got to do some math. So this total distance, right, is 1.8 minus 1.2, okay? So that's subtracting both of those total distances, and then I'm going to divide it by 2. And now it's right in the center. And so I will complete putting the lines in. Okay. I'm going to finish that sketch. And then all you got to do is loft it. Okay. Now the other piece, if you look at this, there are these indents here, right? And so I'm going to have to make that indent, and it's also kind of it's hollow on the inside, right? And that hollowness we're going to create first. So we're going to loop this around, and we're going to shell it. And it is 0.1 because that's the thickness that it shows you on there. And then we'll put a sketch on there. If you can't select it, that means something is wrong with your loft. Like what you created was incorrect, which happens, and that's okay. So now we're going to do an offset, which is a nice feature, and we're going to move it in. And the distance for that offset, if you look, is also 0.1. And we'll do the same thing to the other side. And again, if it doesn't let you select it, that means you have to redo those baseball home plates. Okay, and then I'll extrude them both. And remove it. That's 0.05. Next video, we'll complete this cow catcher.